Can you give us an overall update of your journey?
Well, like the journey is good. It, okay, it's not good. It's shit. I've been on it for two years and about 2 months now, or 1 month. No, 2 months. And look, it's not it's a long journey. I've had, like I just had surgery 2 months ago, had my ovary removed because the oncologist missed that the ovary was expanding with cancer.
You had an emergency in August last year. The doctor told you that your cancer was advanced and you didn't have much time to live. Tell us about that.
Last August, they told me I was going to die. I went through that stress. I will never be able to explain to anyone what that felt like.
Are you concerned about your own mortality?
Yes, like, not to upset everyone, but my chances are still very low of making this. I might, but
The birth of this podcast is deeply personal. I've poured out countless hours into finding the right guests, shaping each conversation, and crafting every episode with intention. My drive comes from a life experience, from pain, resilience, and a desire to make a difference. By subscribing, you're not just supporting a podcast, you're helping grow a community built on healing, honesty, and real impact. Thank you for being here. Now, let's get into the episode. Thank you.
Monica was told she didn't have much time left to live. Stage 4 colon cancer. An emergency admission. Doctor saying the cancer had advanced. But what if they were wrong? In our last interview, Monica shared the symptoms she ignored before her diagnosis. Today, she's back. This isn't just an update. This is about a misdiagnosis, chemotherapy, alternative treatment in Germany, and facing her own mortality at a young age. Is there good news or is there a thing worse to say? Stay with us. Monica, welcome
hello.
again to the Ivy Cancer podcast. The last time we had our interview, I think I could safely say that is the highest view on my channel. Your story has resonate with a lot of the audience, and that was the aim. The message was spread, and people were informed about your situation. We're gonna get into it, but as usual, we have a opening tradition which we pray. So we're gonna pray at this moment. Oh, kind and righteous eternal Father, we pray that you may intervene in this podcast. We pray that you may send this message out to many more people. Bless Monica, dear Father, and give her healing mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Man.
Um, when we last spoke, you were preparing to start your chemotherapy. How did that cycle went?
I think that was my fault. Was that my full fox or was that my full fury? I can't even remember which chemo I was on.
I, I think
But
it was your four fox things.
so I did full fox
Yeah.
and it went well. Originally, it actually wasn't working the first 3 rounds. And then I don't know what I did. And then the next 9 rounds actually worked. Because I did a blood test in between that showed my cancer was going up. And that's when I was like scrambling to try and find something else. And I added some alternate treatments in, and that seemed to then help the chemo work. So that went well. But unfortunately, in the couple of months I had off, it then advanced to my ovaries and through a bunch of lymph nodes. So I went back on to 4 more rounds of chemo, had the ovaries removed in the span of a year, and now I'm back on chemo. It
So
never ends.
so um so it's just an ongoing cycle, you would say.
In hindsight, I do think I will have to be on chemo for the rest of my life. I don't want to believe that, but in this moment, that is what I do believe. And it's not necessarily the worst thing because this is me now. I had chemo 6 days ago, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not great to do chemo forever, but my cancer is just very aggressive. It's not aggressive, but it's just very hard to cure.
Can you give us an overall update of your journey?
Well, like the journey is good. It, okay, it's not good. It's shit. I've been on it for two years and about 2 months now, or 1 month. No, 2 months. And look, it's not it's a long journey. I've had, like I just had surgery 2 months ago, had my ovary removed because the oncologist missed that the ovary was expanding with cancer. I had a feeling, but these things were overlooked. But then I've just got to be grateful we got it out in time. And the overall journey, I think because of my attitude and mentality, I do try and find in between all these bad moments or like these hard moments of treatment to enjoy myself. For example, my friend is here right now from New Zealand looking after me. And, those things are so important,
Right.
those moments. You can't just, the day you get cancer, lock the door and say, I'm not leaving the house or I'm not doing anything because it will just eat, you'll go faster.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't know how to um, receive the information because a lot of people normally, as you mentioned in the last podcast, that sometimes people just want to be by themselves, but you're saying that's not exactly the way you should approach the situation because it only make it worse.
No, because you will start to like, you don't need to think about cancer all the time. Obviously, you need to think about it to work out what to do next, work out what supplements to take and stuff. But if you're just sitting constantly thinking, like, sitting in your living room thinking about cancer, it's just going to make you go mad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
your whole life, obviously, it's different for everyone, but your whole life doesn't have to become cancer. And look, it's easy to say, but you got to find whatever works for you, whether that's just walking your dog each day makes you feel normal, or going, out for coffee once a week with your friend. Just whatever makes you feel like a little bit like a little bit like yourself in this in this big shitstorm. I probably shouldn't say shitstorm on YouTube, sorry. But
It's fine. It's fine. Because I'm hearing you saying that, and I remember seeing a video on Instagram where this lady, um, I would think that she pointed all out to her mindset, and she said how she beat cancer was repeating it, speaking to her organs, speaking to the cancer, like saying to our organs, listen, we're going to beat this thing. We have to beat this thing. You have to help me fight this cancer. And she said she'd do that every single day. And obviously, along with exercise routine and some supplements and alternative things that she was taking. And she said she ended up beating the cancer, kudos to her. But I think what you're saying, the mindset have a lot to do with it. And our last interview, you inspired me so much throughout your journey. I've been following your journey forever since I met you, and you're very inspirational. And
thank you.
I think people, as you said earlier, it's not everyone can say whatever they want to say. It's not easy because cancer journey within itself can't be easy, but I think your mindset have a lot to do with it.
It does because you don't want to, like, look, I could die in a year, but I don't want to be remembered for sitting on the couch crying about dying. Like, I'd rather be remembered, oh, she was like in Italy a week before she died or something, or she was, out with her friends having coffee or whatever. So, it's not easy for everyone, and obviously the small advantage I did have is my mindset was all like to life was already really good, and I always saw the beauty in like the small things. So I think that amplified it when I got cancer because I think I see how much it affects people around me, and I
Right.
realize how bad it is, like how much cancer affects people around you more than it affects the patient. And I think that's what makes me realize that I need to keep a positive mindset because I need to show others, like, I'm not saying I need to show others, but like, I just want everyone to know, like, it's going to be okay, whether I survive or not. Like, I
Mhm.
lived the life I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I did everything I could in cancer treatment. And that's like another thing. I do think some people like to close a blind eye to the cancer treatment and not do their own research. And that would be my biggest fear, getting to my deathbed and thinking, oh, I wish I researched this more and found more answers.
Yeah. I've been following your journey closely on TikTok. Ivians, if you have not yet started follow Monica, please follow her journey. And we will link the link in the description. You had an emergency in August last year. The doctor told you that your cancer was advanced and you didn't have much time to live. Tell us about that.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that was horrible, but in hindsight, it was probably like the best thing that could have happened to me in the sense of now, say for example, the other day I got back my Signatera results and it showed my cancer went from 12 to 116. But I didn't even panic because I'm like, last August they told me I was going to die. I went through that stress. I will never be able to explain to anyone what that felt like. Um,
Before
thinking,
before you
yeah.
go into what that felt like, I want you to explain what 12 to 100 mean. Because
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
yeah.
So I did this test called Signatera, which is specific to the tumor that they removed from your body,
Mm-hmm.
and it counts how many die of cells. So obviously you've got your tumor, and if when chemo is working, cells are dying, and it's in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a lot of die of cells in your blood, that means something is growing as well.
Right.
Because typically you do the test when chemo is like you've got to do it like 4 weeks after chemo or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be from chemo, but that just shows something is moving through your body. There's cancer there, and there's a lot of it to have that many cells. So it's gone from 12 cells to 116 cells in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
So it just means like it's pretty active at the moment, but I've just gone back to chemo, so it means chemo will start to attack that.
Okay.
So that's what that means. And I've been doing this test as a way to see how active my cancer is, because actually last August when they told me that like, oh, this is it, like my ovary um did this thing and created all this fluid in my abdomen. And
Mm-hmm.
they said, this is it, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Um, and I did the test, and the test showed a 12. So it
Mm-hmm.
showed barely any activity. Um, so that's why it's good to have these things because this test can actually pick up a reoccurrence 6 to 12 months before a PET scan can because
Okay.
a PET scan can only see solid things
Mm-hmm.
or big clusters of cancer. It cannot see what's in the blood or small micro clusters of cancer.
Okay. So take us back to that emergency room.
So I'd actually been in Albania for a week. I came home from holidays and I was feeling a little bit funny. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden my stomach like protruded out. And I was like, okay, this is a bit weird. And um, I went to chemo and I tried to do chemo, but I felt like I instantly fell sick. And then the next day I went to emergency and they did a blood test and it showed my CRP was 2000. Oh, sorry, 200. And CRP is the thing that shows if your body's fighting an
Is
infection.
the
So
antibody?
that's, yeah.
Is that the
So
antibody?
that no, no, no. CRP shows if your body is fighting an infection. So
Okay.
it rises if there's something it rises if there's an infection in your body. It's like if you have sepsis, your CRP would go all the way up.
Okay. Okay.
So that happened, and my oncologist was like, "Well, your stomach's protruded. We just saw ascites, which is fluid in the abdomen, on the scan. So she said that means there's cancer all through your abdomen,
Mm-hmm.
and you pretty much your time's come because the CRP's gone up. So it shows that your body is fighting something that and it's just can't not fight it. Like it can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so typically when you get cancer in your peritonealia, your abdominal lining,
Mm-hmm.
once it's in there, it's pretty hard because those tumors produce fluid,
Mm-hmm.
and that fluid then presses on your organs, and that's how your time comes. So that's what she thought it was, and she just disregarded it. I got so sad. I went away. You know, I I was just really sad and stuff. And then I started to investigate it a bit more myself. And we came to the conclusion after a while, seeing a few doctors, we went to Germany actually and stuff, that actually there was just a cyst on my ovary and it had popped and the fluid had gone into my abdomen.
Oh. Oh.
So she misdiagnosed me, in other words.
Before we get more down in the misdiagnosis, what was the first thought came to your head when they said, "Listen, this is it. You ain't got much time to live."
Um, I think I was just like, well, I did not expect this to come so soon. I was like, I'm not ready. I didn't like put my ducks in a row, like haven't sorted out a will and all of this stuff. That's all I thought. I just thought like I hadn't sorted out everything. It's probably like the dumbest response because like who cares? I was going to die anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I need to sort out anything? That's the first thing I thought.
Uh, are you concerned about your own mortality at this point?
Yes, like not to upset everyone, but my chances are still very low to making this. I might, but the thing is, I think my mentality will make me survive a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so hard to tell. It can change from month to month. And I think realizing that and the whole experience I had in August when I thought I was going to die has just made me realize that I've got to accept that it could just change one day. But the most important thing is I've got the strong mental health
Mm-hmm.
and I've got the knowledge behind me. For example, the cancerous ovary that they discovered when all of this went down in August, I actually got myself a surgeon. I went to Zagreb, the capital in Croatia, and I found a surgeon. So I guess I know my capacity to fight this. And I know that even though my day might come, I'll go out kicking and screaming.
So, do you think the research that you have been doing constantly, do you think that helped on that night of the emergency to the point where you had to get your own surgeon?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that day. I think it was like more the research after, once we started to do scans and once we started to do more blood work. And because the fact that the site has just disappeared was like, and once we started to investigate that, that's when we realized it was something else. So I don't think it helped me, the research helped me on that night, but all the research after helped me get to a better position.
So advocating for your health is important.
It's so important because, like, for example, the cancerous ovary, it went from like small to massive in no amount of time. And the oncologists didn't want to remove it because they said, you've got so much cancer everywhere. But I did a lot of in my lymph nodes, and I did a lot of research. And from the research I found, and if anybody's listening to this and has ovarian cancer, I just want to say it's different for everyone. So do your own. Don't like just go off my words. But it did show that if I left that ovary in there, that ovary would kill me before all the other cancer did. So I took it upon myself to say, hey, to the doctor, can we just remove this ovary and then worry about the rest of the cancer later?
So you mentioned about removing the ovary, and I remember in the last podcast we had, you were very optimistic about having a child, creating your own family. Removing the ovaries, do you still have hope to have kids?
So I froze my eggs when I first got cancer. So, I mean, I don't think I'll be able to have kids because of my situation. I mean, if God will and a miracle happens, maybe one day. But obviously, like the chances of me ever being over cancer will be very unlikely. But yes, I have my eggs frozen, and they also left the other ovary, and I asked them not to remove it just this moment because I didn't want to go into menopause or medical menopause whilst I'm in active cancer treatment. So that I could technically have a baby off the other ovary.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's
that's interesting for me to know because I thought that, once removing the ovary, that's it, but you only remove one.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like typically people have both of them removed, but then like I just said to the doctor, I'm 33, and if you're telling me I only have like a year or two left, I don't want to go through menopause and all those changes to my body. Like, and because it's not just the physical appearance, it's for your mental health and stuff. So I said, why don't we just keep a really good eye on the other ovary? Because the other ovary actually has never had a problem in the last 2 years where the other one did. So the other one really should have been removed a while back, but my oncologist didn't register it. So it's like, see what I mean? Like you got to do so much of your own research to understand your cancer.
Have you ever get angry at the medical system?
Oh, always. That's why I literally I say to myself now that I'm my oncologist and I just go to my oncologist to ask for chemotherapy and she does what I want. That's what I think in my head.
Okay. Research is really, really, really good because it has been helping me, and I'm not a cancer patient. I'm just a cancer advocate. And some of the research that I've come across, sometimes when I'm sharing certain things to people with cancer, they can't believe. So, I think what you're doing is really, really important to your journey.
It so is.
Yeah.
And just to add, like if I've learned anything from cancer, like I could be sitting next to someone with the exact same cancer, but I tell you what, it's probably completely different. You know what I mean? Like there's so many elements, the mutations, the locations, and you can't just say, "Oh, my cousin down the road did 12 chemos, so that's what I've got to do." You and the biggest other advice I can give is you've got to read 900 articles. Don't just read one article that says remove your ovary
Mhm.
read multiple ones so you really understand it. But it also goes back to like whether people have the ability to absorb all this information and understand it.
Yeah, I wonder how you absorb it as well and understand it because I did give you commendation the last interview that you could be a doctor. You could actually be a doctor because you know the ins and out of the type of cancer that you has. And I think that's really good. Um, has cancer changed the way how you view time?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Like we waste so much time with shit that's not relevant.
The last person I've interviewed with colon cancer, he said something in that interview. He said that where time is concerned, he just focusing on making memories with his family. And he said something about he realized like when it comes to sickness, all the savings that you've been working hard to save, when it comes to sickness, it's actually worth nothing.
Exactly.
He's wearing stoma at the present moment. But his journey was something else. Like he worked into a plant where loads of chemical that's disruptive to the hormone. But obviously, the company would state that you're secure, blah blah blah. But we know how that works, so I'm not going to get into that. But how do you deal with the bad news, like when a scan don't give you the news that you want to hear?
I mean, I just like I've accepted death. I think that's why it makes this easier. I know that's I probably sound like a crazy person because most people are scared of death, but I'm not. Like I think that accepting death is a lot easier to get through this journey because thing is when you get a scan, and maybe in the beginning I was probably like this, but you can't just lose your head or lose your cool because what does that achieve? You kind of
Mhm.
just got to look at the scan and say, okay, I'm doing da da da. I need to reassess my plan and just go with it. And I know, like, I'm sure one day I'll be sad, but I don't know. The longer this journey goes on, every time I get a scan, I'm like, well, that's that.
What has been the hardest thing beside cancer?
Oh, dealing with people for sure. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, if cancer has actually been probably the easiest thing I've done in the last 2 years. Some of the experiences I've had with people have been shocking, and the people that you thought would be there for you have completely walked out the door. Some have done me so dirty, but that's made me realize, like the friends that I do love and care about, I care about them a lot. So, it's a swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
So a friend of mine recently, she just told me, I didn't know this, but I realized she was avoiding me for some times, and I was wondering why she was avoiding me. So I leave her to it. I never message her. Some a real good friend of mine. I'm not even going to give out like what do I call her, because people would know who I'm talking about, and I don't think she want everyone to know. But she said the same thing to me, like, you know, when she wasn't ill or when she wasn't going through cancer, she had all the support in the world. She could just go to someone, even her own kids, and get support that she's looking for. But when she actually needs the support, which she just been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and she said that she's not getting the support that she would think that she would have gotten, especially from her own. And that's the thing. I realized that, sometimes it goes both ways. Sometimes people that going through cancer, they don't want any support because it's just in their head, right? And some people who want the support, not getting the support. My mom was a big one of them that she wanted the support, but she wasn't getting the support. So I remember you mentioned in the last interview that, like, when someone is going through an interview, don't ask them, just do it. You know,
Uh,
just do
yes.
it, because the last thing that they want to think is that they're a burden. And I think that statement was very important.
Yeah, like it is. And another statement that's very important that I have learned very strongly recently is that these people is nothing to do with you. Their reactions are to do with their own internal selves. If
Hmm.
someone's not giving you support, it's not because they don't want to give you support. It's the limitations they have in their own mind. Like how do I explain it better? Just like people some people don't want to be around someone sick because it makes them face their morality.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be around someone that's sick and positive because it makes them, like, for example, I had a friend walk out the door and she contacted me 4 months later. And she said, I'm sorry that I haven't spoken to you in 4 months. I couldn't handle that you were so positive during cancer and I was so miserable about
What?
my life.
What?
And I was just like, and I just said, I'm sorry, that's your problem. Like, and
That
I could honestly, and I,
that is one of the. I don't even know
yeah,
what to even think about that statement.
but that's I've had one person, also another girl in the cancer community in Croatia, saying cancer's easier for you because you're Australian. I'm like, what does that mean? Like Mike, like, and the funny thing is, and not to ever compare, but I literally have a way worse cancer than hers. It's just like you just don't know what's going on in someone's head, and it's better off to just leave them and do their own thing.
Yeah.
Oh, because and it's like recently, very recently, I found out someone that was supporting me for 2 years, pretty much like was just doing it because they were like pretty much they needed like a hero complex.
Hmm.
And and then I just said to myself, I just said goodbye to that. I've just got to be grateful that I had 2 years off that support and that's it. Because if cancer's told me anything, if we're going to dwell on that, like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
There's no point. And once a person shows their true colors, just take it for what it is and go on. Like we are fighting such a big fight, especially when you've been on this journey for 2 years. You're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, God knows how long I have on this. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need all this extra stuff.
Is stoma, is it an option for you?
What a
Stoma bag.
stoma?
Yeah.
No, I already had that.
Oh, you add it.
Yeah, but it's not in my colon anymore. It hasn't been in my colon since my first operation. It's
Oh,
so it's all in my lymph nodes
your
now.
lymph nodes.
And that's why it's a bit tricky because it's in
That's
the lymph
why
nodes in the middle
that's
of
why.
me.
Yeah.
And so when it's in the lymph nodes in the paraortic area, it's pretty much classified as incurable because it spreads out to everywhere.
Yeah.
But, let's try and prove them wrong.
And your lymph node is what move the lymphatic fluid through your system, right?
Yes, and that's potentially why I got it in my ovaries because the lymph nodes in the paraortic area drain down to your ovary. So they would
Right.
drain the cancer cells down that way.
Right. What do most people misunderstood about living with stage 4 cancer?
And that you just got to be depressed all the time or look sick. That's honestly it. Like I'll be walking down at the beach with my dog. Somebody like, oh, she looks so well. Yeah, like how's life after cancer? I'm like, no, I was on chemo 5 days ago.
You
But I'm
know,
like, but like this, I just real. But then and then like some people get offended at that I don't look more sicker. But I'm like, what do you want me to do?
I heard someone said on a podcast, does cancer have a look? What do you expect me to look like? You know, and it was really funny to me because it's like people put this stigma on cancer that they expect if you're going through cancer, you're supposed to look a certain way. Like, they would depict cancer on a scan, this big round ball with these things sticking out. Maybe they expect you're supposed to be looking something like that. I don't know.
It's like the thing is, like if and this is another thing. I think in the beginning I was like a bit like, oh yeah, I'm worried what people will think if I'm like smiling on the weekend and stuff. And then that lasted for about 50 seconds, and then I got over that. And then I realized, like, if I've only got a year or two left to live, who cares what other people think? Like, I go to the gym and I put on my makeup. And if I see myself in the mirror and I look healthy, it makes me think I'm healthy. You know what I mean? And in my
Definitely.
mind, I am healthy. There's just these stupid little cells trying to kill
It's a
me.
psychology issue. It,
It
it
is.
if you
And I
constantly
actually,
it's
yeah.
telling yourself that, and it goes back to the mind again, the mindset. If you think you're supposed to be looking a certain way, then you're going to be feeling a certain way.
Yeah, well, that's what, when I went to surgery in Zagreb, I had this very nice surgeon. And he actually said to me, he goes, you're already winning the battle because you're not telling yourself you're sick and you don't believe. And he goes, I'm telling you now, I've had so many patients, and the ones with your attitude are the ones that last longer. Because once you give up, once your mind gives up, your body gives up.
You always been researching and you found a treatment in Germany. What have you done and how did you know that would have worked for you?
Um, I guess I had heard of dendritic cell therapy last February, so over a year ago. And so it crossed my mind, but it was quite expensive. So I knew it existed. And um, I guess I just started to Google this stuff, like what treatment can I do for cancer in the lymph nodes? What treatment can I do for this? And when I went to Germany, I actually found because it's Germany, they have these like travel consultants
Mm-hmm.
that help you find the right treatment. It is a bit pricey and it can be done on your own, but I think because we were so stressed, we just went with them, and they actually found me the treatment as well. And I just it just the biggest, the most helpful bit of information on the internet is PubMed, which is public
Yeah,
medications.
yeah.
And I research that all the time. I'll read 50 different case studies on dendritic cell therapy because I'm constantly thinking there'll be something that I read or something on there that shows me like the light to a new treatment. And because I've done this, I actually have so much treatment in the back of my mind ready to go when things start to pop up elsewhere.
I was going to ask you because that is where I've done a lot of research on PubMed. It's one of the most reliable sources that you can ever go on when it comes to your health, regardless anything. But I'm glad you mentioned that. So people can actually go on PubMed and search their diagnosis, whatever diagnosis they are, because they have statistics, they have mortality rates, they have history of cancer, they have so much things on there. You just need to search what you actually want.
The only problem with PubMed just to keep in mind for anybody watching this, is a lot of the stuff is 5 to 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to cancer things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not a bad thing, but I'm just trying to say, like, if the
Yeah.
statistic is really bad, it's probably a bit more improved now
Yeah.
because technology has advanced.
Yeah. Um, in our last interview, you talk about supplement. How do you find what supplement actually work for you?
Um, that's a good question because it's hard to tell, but when I So I actually did a blood test when I was in Zagreb, and it showed that like some of my levels were low, like my folate and B12. And so I did that, and that showed that. But I guess I'm always searching, like what supplements to take for cancer, and then there'll be a list, and then I'll search why that they're beneficial, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
see, okay, does that relate to my cancer? And then the most important thing is, so my cancer is microsatellite stable, unstable. It's the I cannot think of it right now. But
Yeah.
it's the one where my cancer cannot be infiltrated by the immune system,
Mm-hmm.
and most of colon cancer is that. So what that means is even if you do all these great supplements, all this health, it can't get into your cancer because it's like there's almost like a barrier. And
Mm-hmm.
so I try and find supplements that weaken that barrier, and so it makes all of everything else more effective.
So, have you seen the research where you come across with vitamin D and the
Oh, of course. Like I take actually with dendritic cell therapy, they make you take like 20,000 UIs or units of vitamin D.
so is
But
this
it's not standalone. That's the thing.
okay. So is this therapy? Is it working for you in your head? Is it
It's very hard to tell because it's not something that can be measured.
okay?
You can actually only really just hope it's working, which is kind of sad. That's like a lot of stuff. Uh, because all it is the dendritic cells is they take out your blood, and they encourage like teach your cancer fighting cells,
Mm-hmm.
dendritic cells, to fight, and then they pop them back into your body, and then you actually have to do it with chemo, so chemo weakens that barrier and then they get in. So they
Mm-hmm.
could be working, or they could just be prolonging my life. I think in all the studies it's more about prolonging,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is with prolonging is the more you prolong, the more new things you find, the more new technology comes out. It's just like one of those things.
It
Sometimes you just got to
sounds to
trust what you've read.
it sounds to me like CAR T cell as well, because I think they do similar process in CAR T cells.
It's similar, but the professor in Germany explained the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Party is more effective, but higher morale, like more chances of dying,
Mm-hmm.
where dendritic cell therapy is less effective, but no chance of dying.
Okay. Okay. Um, what are some of the non-negotiable things that you do during your cancer treatment?
exercise, go to the infrared sauna. Infrared sauna is so good for cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because cancer doesn't like heat.
Mm.
And it really helps with chemo as well from the side effects. That's why this is why I look like this 5 days after chemo. It's not even been 5 days. I finished chemo on Wednesday, so today's Sunday. Yeah, 5 days. What else non-negotiables? Getting sunlight, walking, taking my supplements.
Mhm.
Those are my everything's a non-negotiable, I think, in my life.
You mentioned that you just done your chemo and this is how you look. I think you're absolutely looking amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do
I
look amazing.
try. Yeah, so I tried a theory today. I actually posted it on my TikTok stories, and I told myself, so on Monday to Wednesday I had chemo, and then Thursday I could not get out of bed. I was dead because normally the day they discharge me is like I cannot even get out of my bed, and I was just feeling so gross and tired. And I said to my friend, let's go to the gym and let's do my regular gym session before I started chemo. And
Hmm.
I did that. I ran on the treadmill. I lifted weights like as if I'd not been on chemo.
Hmm.
And it literally fixed me because it makes me realize chemo makes your blood pressure go down. So that's why you're always like out of breath, tired and stuff, where exercise raises it. So if you just go to the gym, and look, I know it's not for everyone and it's a mentality thing, and maybe I did gym before, so I get it. But if you just go to the gym and get oxygen into your body, you will recover quicker.
Okay. Sounds like something that I've seen all the time. Um, what they said in some of the research that I've seen is that, because you're doing the chemo, it weakens your muscle. Um, so in order to gain strength, you have to do strength training, walking to keep your, immune system functioning in order to fight the cancer.
And
And
your
also,
joints and stuff.
yeah,
Like, because I just think there's a bit like, obviously, look, there's going to be some cancer people watching this and being like, okay, she thinks she's this fitness person or something. But I just want to say, like, I think there's all these stigmas like the day you get cancer, you're going to be bedridden every day, you're going to be sad, blah, blah, blah. But if you can push through some of these things, they will benefit you. This is why, like, I think I'll live a bit longer because I can take more chemo because I'm trying to recover as quick as I can
hmm,
from them. And I go for vitamin C infusions. That's actually another non-negotiable. That really helps with the immune system and making me feel better.
in our last interview, the comment section, there's two questions. One of them, I think you had addressed it in the video, but the person asked, so I assume that they didn't watch the full interview. But the first question is, did you notice any diminishing in the volume of your stool than you used to?
No, I didn't. I literally, the only symptom I had was a pain in the side.
Right. And the next question was, did you took the job?
Oh, I'm not even going to answer that question because I just think it's bullshit. I'm sorry. I just, you know what? Originally, I thought the jab had maybe something to do with it, but I just think it's such taboo. It's like one of those things. What are we going to do? Turn around? Like COVID is over. I could understand if people were still taking the jab, but
Yeah,
they're not. So what relevance does it have to anything?
yeah. What would you tell someone that just been diagnosed with cancer?
I would say just like, you don't have to be happy all the time. Take in the information, grieve how you want, but just try, if you can, not to sit in it too long because your mentality is the most important thing on this journey.
What's next for you?
So I just started chemo again. I've got 4 rounds. I did 4 rounds last year and had surgery, so now I've got to do another 4 rounds, and we're going to do another scan. We do need to, and I will do Signatera to see if the chemo is working. Because obviously there could come a point where the chemo doesn't becomes like immune. My cancer comes resilient to the chemotherapy. So yeah, 4 more rounds. We'll see where we're at, and then maybe another 4 more rounds, and then we'll see where we're at.
So it's a step-to-step process.
Yeah, and it's like it's not as what's it called? Like it's not as clear cut as when it's from the beginning. Because at the beginning, you've got to do 6 rounds and surgery and then 12 rounds. Where now it's like, okay, we've got to play it by ear. Because essentially, if I can get my cancer down, I could do radiation on a couple of the spots, but I do think there is too much in the lymph nodes because there's a lot of lymph nodes involved.
Hmm. Okay. Mon, um, thank you for your time again. And as always, I am praying for you, and I wish that you get through this thing, because I believe that your journey is a testament to many that's going through cancer. And Ivians, if you have not yet follow Mon, as I said, I am going to link her page in the description. As you know, Monica, there is a closing um, tradition that we have on the podcast, where the guests leave an encouraging word for the next guest coming up, not knowing who that will be. And the last guest I've interviewed goes by the name of J Log. And he said, the universe bear no ill the universe bear no ill to me, and I bear no ill to it. Look within yourself to discover your own truth and to live in the experience of constant awareness of that truth within.
That's a
So,
bit fancy.
yeah, I will ask you to send me over your encouraging word for the next guest coming up. Thank you again, Monica, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Take care.